Today on Sega Talk, we dip back into classic Sonic games covering Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble on the Sega Game Gear. We talk about the cult classic handheld game, talk about the birth of Fang, or is that Knack? All this and more on Sega Talk.
Sega Bits presents Sega Talk, a podcast talking all things Sega! With your hosts, George and Barry.
Look, it's a giant talking egg. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the master here. So what?
Hello everyone and welcome to Sega Talk. I'm your host George, and like always with me is my partner in crime. Barry, this is the part where you say something.
Get off my island.
As you can see, he's cosplaying. Well, not even like he's kind of trying to act like Knuckles, or what his opinion of Knuckles would be.
I'm Knuckles. Don't mess with me.
And today we are talking about Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble, a 1994 2D platforming game released exclusively on the Game Gear that was developed by Aspect, who was mostly known for their Sega Game Gear and Master System ports. This is a Patreon pick, right, Barry? And
you're darn tootin'.
And you plug the Patreon for the fine folks at home.
Oh boy. Well, hey folks, if you like what we do here, then you can support us over at patreon.com/segabits, and we have a variety of tiers. There are ones that get you the audio version a week before. There are ones that get you the audio and video version a week before. And there are even ones that let you pick what we talk about. And tonight's episode is actually a Patreon pick. It is a pick from longtime supporter Nicholas Schaefer, NS. And so we're going to read his memories at the top of the show. At the end of the show, we're going to read the rest of the memories. And these are all Patreon supporters. $1 gets you in the door. You can leave a memory, get the audio version. $5 video, 20 picks. So here's what Nicholas had to say. He said, "So, I got a Game Gear well past its time and never got to get this game. Instead, I had Sonic 2, and that had killed my interest in 8-bit Sonic games. But when I got the Sonic Gems collection for GameCube, I fell in love with this game. Unique levels with new level gimmicks and power-ups and added story to tag onto Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Music was good as well for Game Gear, but the big thing was Knack the Weasel. As a big Archie Sonic comic reader, this blew my mind at the time. I thought he was a comic original and not the other way around. Seeing him in this, Drift, and Fighters made me instantly character I wanted in the modern games. Kid Me even wrote a cringy fanfic of him and Rouge the Bat doing a heist together."
Wow.
Anyways, I think if Sega really wants to follow up on Mania and do a Sonic Origins Plus physical edition, remaking Triple Trouble in the Mania engine would definitely get me to buy it again. And that's what he had to say.
And check us out on Patreon, like Barry said. All your support counts, and we appreciate it. Talking about, so what type of games did Aspect make, the guys that made this game? Because obviously this game was not made by Sonic Team, even though I think Aspect did a good job at least at capturing the look and aesthetics of classic Sonic games and translating them to 8-bit. Mostly they did obviously Game Gear games, and some of their hits include Axe Battler, A Legend of Golden Axe, which is a unique Zelda-type clone, Sonic Chaos, Deep Duck Trouble, starring Donald Duck, Tails Adventure, and Legend of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse. Sadly, on October 31st, 2018, Aspect went bankrupt. So I'm actually surprised it was in 2018 and not in like 2008, personally.
Right. Or 1998.
Right, exactly. Because like most of the bulk of their work was during the Genesis days. I think their last game they actually made was Rent-A-Hero, the Xbox exclusive. Doubt that paid the bills very well, so surprised it wasn't right there in 2003. That was their last game. I see that you got sorry. I see somebody's got notes, sorry. Barry, you updated a prolific Sega handheld blog on Blogspot, right? Called
That's right.
Nomad Junkyard, not the Sega Nomad, which is your name. I don't know what I was thinking here. What is your history with Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble and your overall thoughts on the game?
Oh boy. Well, yeah, you are right. So I actually got my blogging career start back in 2009. I created a blog called the Nomad Junkyard, which was kind of an offshoot from the Dreamcast Junkyard and the Saturn Junkyard. And I covered Game Gear. I covered like any portable handheld Sega stuff. The joke was that like the Sega Nomad is really just a portable Genesis. So I would be like, oh, I talk about Nomad games, which really was like I talk about playing,
right,
like Genesis games on the go.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as a Nomad cartridge.
Right.
But yeah, because of that, I really grew an interest in the Sega Game Gear. It's a handheld I never grew up with owning. I knew friends who had it. I remember playing Lion King on a friend's Game Gear. But really, I did not own any portable devices outside of a Sega Nomad. Like, honestly, I think the Sega Nomad's one of Sega's best pieces of hardware. I think it was a really cool evolution of the Genesis, once they started to move into the mid-90s. And it also was kind of a Game Gear killer, just because if you had not yet purchased a Game Gear in 1995 and you had the choice between a portable Sega Genesis or essentially a portable Master System, of course you're going to go with the Nomad.
Right.
And so it wasn't until years later that I picked up a Game Gear. Actually, I bought the Majesco model, which was from Mexico, I think. And the Majesco model, the way you can tell those apart is that they don't have the rainbow, the red RGB logo. It's just pure white on the front of the... Yeah. But the Majesco model has a superior screen because it was made later. It was made in the late 90s as opposed to the early 90s. So, long story short, I picked up Sonic Triple Trouble used, cartridge only. I actually have it over there. I have to run and grab my props. I forgot to put them next to me. And I really enjoyed it. I can see why people love this game. I think unlike Sonic 1 and 2 and Sonic Chaos, this one feels a lot more... I wouldn't say epic, but much more in line with what the Genesis was offering. It had more characters. I think it had the largest character roster of any Game Gear platformer.
Right.
It had a fun kind of post Sonic 3 and Knuckles plot. So it was like a new adventure with Knuckles still kind of on the edge of being a rival and an enemy and a friend, which was a fun period of time. Like, we don't talk about it too much, but there was like a brief, 1 or 2 year window where it wasn't assured that Knuckles was Sonic's friend. And that was Sonic and Knuckles in this game and maybe one more. Same with Shadow. Like, there was a brief period of time where Shadow was dead.
Right, right. We never
and
knew
I
he was
don't
gonna come back or not.
And it was like the character was seen in a much different light. He was that one-off character who died. It just like Knuckles was that new villain. And then all of a sudden it's like, he's a friend. And Shadow's alive and he's a friend. So,
right.
I don't know. It actually kind of makes me miss the days of characters who were animals, but they weren't all friends. And that's why I think I really like Knack the Weasel, is because he was an enemy at the time and he still is an enemy. Like, he's still a bad guy. He's one of the few... I think he's the only animal character who never became a buddy of Sonic's later on.
Well, Infinite, but you think he's coming back?
Well, he was...
Sort of not even
died.
a bad guy. Right.
Well, he was corrupted and then died. Yeah, and I'll have more to say on Infinite later.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Me...
How about you?
I'm
going to grab my props while you talk.
Right, so my brother got the Game Gear when we were kids. The only game we owned for it was Sonic, one of the Sonic ports for it. I think that they did for it because it came bundled in with the Game Gear. And then my parents returned it because the battery was terrible and they were tired of trying to figure out the rechargeable battery situation. So later on, I bought one myself when they were obviously way cheaper. And I played this game. Some of the Shinobi games I thought were pretty cool in concept. The Game Gear had some really, really cool games for it being such a not popular console compared to the Game Boy or whatever. So Sega really did support it, and they had some actually pretty good games for it. I think Triple Trouble is probably the best Sonic game on there because they really kind of figured out all the little, they even had the gimmicks for the shoes here from Chaos. So it's pretty cool that they kind of combined all this and then added a cool new character that is become iconic over time. As we just spoke about Aspect, who has quite the record number of big titles on the Game Gear, do you consider them a B tier because they mostly worked on Game Gear? I think that's kind of like a stereotype, right? Like Sonic Team was the top tier. And these guys were doing their B tier titles, right?
I mean, I'd call them an A tier Game Gear developer. I think they were really pushing what the Master System hardware was capable of. The Mark III it was, right, in Japan,
right?
And so this was hardware that existed for quite some time. Sega was supporting it. Geez, when did the Master System come out? 1985?
85 or 86, right?
86 something. I know the SG-1000 was before that, but it really, and I think the Master System even was like built on the SG-1000 because there are emulators that can play both games. So it really feels like Aspect was really like doing some amazing work with what the Game Gear was capable of, given this was almost decade-old hardware. I mean, nowadays with M2 doing the Genesis or the Mega Drive Mini 2, they are now doing stuff with like sprite scaling that's amazing. And so I feel like at the time Aspect was doing stuff with the Game Gear that was frankly really impressive. I look at games like Tails Adventures and Deep Duck Trouble and the Sonic Chaos and Triple Trouble games, and it's much, much better than other options out there and even other games within the same franchise. Like, it's the better Sonic games, it's the better Donald Duck games.
Right. I agree
even
with that.
Tails Adventures is better than Tails Sky Patrol.
Right.
Land of Illusion, like they did an Illusion game. That's really cool. So I would hesitate to say they're like B tier. I think they were doing a quality effort just on smaller scale.
And I agree. I think there's this... Back then, it was such a divided thing, right? Somebody had to make these Master System games, right?
Right.
And I agree with you. And I think the thing that also made their titles kind of pop is because they had a good understanding of the franchises they were making games of. And they kind of knew what fans liked and how to push these games to make them aesthetically pleasing. So, like, if you go to the store and you saw Triple Trouble for the Game Gear, you're definitely going to want it as a kid, right? As a Sega fan. They knew that people liked the Mickey games, and they knew how to market them, how to design them to look pleasing, and I think that's what made something like Knack so iconic, even after 30 years after the... almost 30 years after the character was created. So, development...
Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, because I know people get finicky sometimes in the comments. The Mark III came out in 1985, and then the Master System came out in America in 1986, and then in Japan in 1987. So this was 10-year-old hardware that by this point, if we're considering Game Gear and evolution or a continuation of Master System and Mark III hardware.
And back then, I think it was typically 5-year support is what you considered a full generation, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So development for Sonic Triple Trouble, not a lot, as you would assume. Not a lot of interviews. As you would guess, a lot of these magazines wanted to talk to Sonic Team and some of the bigger teams that actually created some of these franchises. So While Sonic Triple Trouble ended up staying as a Game Gear exclusive, it was originally slated to have a Master System port, much like Sonic Chaos a year before it. That would make this one of the last if it came out, big Master System titles. So I actually looked it up, and Mickey's Ultimate Challenge in March 27th. Oh no, not March 27th. In 1994, a puzzle game was for Brazil only, was the last one to come out on the Master System. I would say if Triple Trouble came out in 94, I think this would have been the last actual big game, because a Mickey puzzle game's cool, only for Brazil or whatever, but having a Triple Trouble full scale, this game would be a lot bigger deal in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
And we also have some screenshots. I don't know if you can see them if you have them open, but basically these are the only development screenshots we have. And as you can tell, not a lot changed. The bonus round used to be 3D, like a 3D type level. The peel out for Sonic was yellow. So like we're talking very minor differences. The level design changed. You know how Sonic Retro loves showing off the old early screenshots. I personally don't see too much different. Obviously, development always changes little things here and there, but it's nothing huge like a Lost Zone or anything. So, like I said, sadly, Triple Trouble's development is not as interesting as other games have been in the past. Are you surprised by that, by the way, that there's not that many? Because, like, these games just came out. Like, Chaos came out the year before this. Like, how much promotion can you do in a year?
I mean, we see this a lot with Game Gear games and Master System games. They just kind of cranked them out, and magazines at this time weren't really focusing on them. So I guess the only real thing we can hope for is that people, who are doing books nowadays are interviewing people and covering this sort of stuff for future generations. So, fingers crossed on that front. Like Sega 16's doing something, because I think this is an area that has not been covered all that much, as we see here.
And so let's talk a little bit about the title for the game. So in America, we got the game called Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble, which I think should have just been called Sonic Triple Trouble. But in Japan, the game was called Sonic and Tails 2, which would be a sequel to Sonic and Tails, which is Sonic Chaos here. Does this make sense to you, Barry? Are we catching? What name?
It does.
Right, all right. So what name do you like more? Do you like that we use Chaos and Triple Trouble, or are you a Sonic and Tails 1 and 2 fan?
I always found Sonic and Tails to be a really lame name. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's a game where you kick it off and you can play as Sonic or Tails, which I guess was a big deal at the time, because Sonic 1 and 2 for the Master System does not have anyone except for Sonic playable. But I think by this point, like, people knew that you would get multiple characters in a Sonic game, so you don't need to spell it out. And I think Sonic and Tails 2 is such a kind of lame, basic title.
Right.
Sonic Chaos, I always really love that name. And then Sonic Triple Trouble, I think is cool. I mean, it's triple of what, though? Like, it's not a third game in any sense. It's not. And I think that's what always kind of threw me off, because I'd be like, all right, there's Sonic 1 Game Gear, Sonic 2 Game Gear, Sonic Triple Trouble? Is that the third one?
Right.
Oh, there's Sonic Chaos. And I think if you know the Japanese names, it makes a lot more sense. But I tend to prefer Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble. And I think most people are smart enough to see, like, the evolution there without needing it spelled out as Sonic and Tails and Sonic and Tails 2.
Yeah, Sonic and Tails seems kind of generic. I mean, Sonic 2 is Sonic and Tails, right? So to say that your Game Gear game is called Sonic and Tails doesn't really describe it. Sonic Chaos, I like the name. Obviously, that one's cool. Triple Trouble, I think, is trying to be like, there's a third new bad guy, right? So I'm assuming the Triple Trouble would be Fang, Eggman, and Knuckles for the player. So
and I think that's cool. Like, it's clear there's 3 enemies in this game, which is unique at the time. Like, it's I think what I really like about it is it's like outdoing Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is an epic game, but there was only Eggman and Knuckles.
Right.
So.
And I think it's even cooler than something like Sonic Forces that teased all these bad guys and they were just illusions. So, like, the fact that they actually brought a new character that's an actual character is cool. Right. And so, let's talk about the Japanese cover and the American cover. We got totally different. This is where it changes. The titles are changed. The art is changed. So, here, the American one, we have more of the American cartoon type art. In Japan, it's more in line with what we see in the Mega Drive covers, even the aesthetics of the design on the logo and everything. Triple Trouble is obviously more Americanized with the way they do the gradient. Very cool logo, by the way. I really love the Triple Trouble logo. It's very cool. And it also, the American also does, I think, a better job advertising what the game is. It has the new character on the cover. It has Eggman. It has Knuckles. Sonic and Tails 2 just has Sonic and Tails. I could literally change the logo of Sonic and Tails 2 and just put Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and you'd be like, yeah, that's Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Right, and I think it's not deceiving, but it reads a little odd because, yeah, you could look at that Japanese cover art if you were a casual and be like, oh, Sonic 2. Huh. Yeah. I think the American cover art's really great. I mean, I know there are people who hate this style, and I think in recent years, Twitter has become like a bastion, whatever, like a cesspool of people who just decided to like rewrite history and act like we all always hated. They call him Buttface Sonic. Look at him. He doesn't have a butt face. There's no brow there. If you look at that artwork there, and now they hate the fin. They're like, oh, they thought it was one fin. And I'm like, you know what? This was what it was at the time, and it's pretty fucking cool.
Are you reading my Twitter? Are you reading my tweets out loud right now?
Yeah, pretty much. But I love that it has all the enemies there. I think the only downside is that Tails should have been in there.
Right.
Like, Tails is not on the cover and he's playable in the game.
Right. No, yeah, Tails should have been in there. That's like the one negative thing. And I'm not a big like I said, I like the Japanese artwork usually better, but I just think the American cover does better to convey what the game really is. Especially, I almost forgot, the snowboarding, which is a brand new feature in this game, is pictured prominently on the cover too. So they did a better job describing what's inside the game. So definitely an American fan here. I do wonder if there's going to be people upset about that, but it's all right. We could all disagree. So the story of Triple Trouble is an epic tale. In Triple Trouble, Eggman finally captures all the Chaos Emeralds without Sonic knowing it. I guess he was sleeping. While testing his ultimate weapon, he makes a big mistake, which results in an explosion shattering the Chaos Emeralds across the planet Earth, obviously. Eggman has gotten one, but has no idea where the other 5 have gone. Sonic and Tails see the explosion, spring into action, but at the same time, so has Knuckles and a new character, Fang the Sniper. So what's your overall opinion on the game's story? I think I put it should be called Quad Trouble, but I'm an idiot because I literally just explained why it's called Triple Trouble. I was thinking it more of like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, you know what I mean? There's so many characters, why is it triple? But it's because the bad guys are triple.
The 3 bad guys, yeah. Well, I guess the explosion's a problem.
Right, that's a problem too.
I like the story. I like that there's actually a little explanation there as to why Super Sonic doesn't appear, and it's because Eggman has apparently one of the emeralds, but 5 are missing. Mm-hmm. But if you think about that, that's 6. So I guess the 7th one was never found or acquired. So it's like it stops you need to stop Eggman from being on the path to collecting all 7, but he has not collected all 7, even if he gets
right.
Yeah. So it's like there's another story after this. Maybe, I don't know. But in the Sonic franchise, it's been 6 or 7 depending on the game. I mean, even then, people say, oh, well, in Sonic 1, there was only 6, and that's why Super Sonic didn't appear until Sonic 2.
Right.
So, but I dig it. I like Fang or Knack. In the story, in the game story, he's just on his own. But in the comic, which we'll talk about later,
Right.
he's hired by Robotnik in a very Boba Fett sort of situation where, like, it's Darth Vader hiring a bounty hunter. I think Fang's a really interesting character. So I'm looking forward to talking more about
Thing.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
The story, I do like the idea of, like, it's very Dragon Ball Z-ish, right? Like, oh, they all scattered. Now, there's this whole fight to try to capture them. Very simple. It's a little different take because it really does make Sonic's world feel more vibrant in this game. Because it really shows you how it grew during the classic era. Like, it literally was just Sonic and Sonic and Eggman fighting, and now it's like Tails, Knuckles, and these characters I think are very vibrant and full of life and very different from each other, that I think it works out really well. And I wish they did this more now that they have more friends, where each one has like the more rival or anti-hero characters want the Chaos Emerald for their own needs. I mean, not everyone has to agree with Sonic, even if they're not bad guys, right?
Right.
So it's like, Sonic, you only need one to keep it away from Eggman, right? Like, why can't I just have them and use them for what I need, right? But anyway,
Right.
as long as you're not evil, but yeah.
I'm not.
I swear I'm not. Talking about the new character, Sonic Triple Trouble is best known for the first appearance of Fang the Sniper. Fang the Sniper was created by Tadashi Hori. I can't even say his last name. I'm not even going to try. But he basically came up with his character's treasure persona hunting personality. But the character was actually designed by Shinichi Higachi. And we have a quiz. Bada, 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 bada. I don't know. We don't have a theme song.
I can't wait.
We don't have a theme song. So, Higachi also... he also worked on other games, including Sonic Drift, Burning Rangers, and even Sonic Adventure. But he also designed characters for another cult classic Sega RPG franchise. So I got A, Valkyria Chronicles, B, Skies of Arcadia, C, Sakura Wars, D, Seventh Dragon.
Ooh. I'm going to say Skies of Arcadia?
B, you're right, actually. Yeah. He actually designed the characters for Skies of Arcadia. I didn't... The eyes, kind of, the way he designed Fang's eyes kind of gave me a little like, oh, I could see it now. He has little Japanese anime eyes. But then again, is it just Fang that has these eyes? I think he has a really unique eye. And I like his Fang, obviously. But, so, what's your opinion on Fang as a character and his look?
I love his look. He's one of the Sonic characters I would like learn to draw as a kid, just because it's super fun to draw him in profile. And I think he was actually designed with his profile in mind, which is unique from Sonic, which you always see at that 3/4 angle. And I don't think you're going to cover it in the notes, but a few years ago, there was a lot of like reveals about Fang's design, and his design was actually inspired by Opa Opa.
Really? I did not know. I didn't see that.
The pointed look of his face and his nose and his hat all pointing forward was inspired by Opa Opa, like this sideways shape. And then as for the animal, in North America he's a weasel, but in Japan they wanted him to be half, I'm looking this up now, half jerboa, which is like a little hopping rat, and half wolf. Which is interesting because Sally Acorn was also, I think, like half squirrel, half chipmunk or something. So there's this weird like hybrid animal thing going on at the time. I prefer weasel. I think it's just simpler than like a half jerboa, half wolf. Or just make him a wolf. I think that would have been cool, but I don't like these half. I don't like the crossbreeding with like different animals in Sonic, because then it just gets like really weird. Like, what would a half
Icky.
hedgehog, half tails, like half fox look like? You know, I don't know.
And I was going to tell you, he's also one of the, least one of the characters that does not have an animal after his name, like you said. he was supposed to be called Knack the Weasel, but he's technically, officially now called Fang the Sniper, which is, I think it's only a few characters. Like we talked about, Bean the Dynamite is the character, another one.
Exactly.
And I think, what do you think about that? Do you think it has to be an animal, or do you think that's just a...
I think I would prefer it to be an animal just to stay in the theme, because it's always like a name that's kind of a descriptor and then the animal. So Fang, that makes sense. Knack, what's a knack? I don't know. I grew up on Knack, so I'm a little more attached to it, but I also like the name Fang. But Fang the Sniper always felt weird to me because he's got a little pop gun, and that's not really a sniper weapon.
Right.
He doesn't do any snipery things in the game. So, like, he's a weasel, he's a wolf, but he's not a sniper. He's not sniping. And when you're in
he's definitely
Sonic the Fighters, he's like a shooter. He's like Fang the Shooter, or a popper.
He's more like a little gunslinger, kind of, right? Like
he is
hard-boiled. What do you think about his little like Indiana Jones look? He's got the little hat like Indiana Jones. Does he need a whip too?
Yeah, I think in the comics they even like made him kind of Australian. Like they played up that with the hat, the little upturned brim.
What do you think about that? Like Australian.
I think that would be cool. I think if he ever like talked, if they gave him an Aussie accent, I think that'd be cool. But I love his design. I love his name. I think he's one of the most underutilized classic characters. Even nowadays, they haven't really used him. Like, he appeared in Sonic Mania, but he wasn't in any of the recent IDW comics. Even though they've built up a really big, like, cast of classic Sonic characters.
Right.
They still don't revisit Knack. And I guess I'll mention it now, like... in the aftermath of Sonic Forces, I had thought that it would have been a really cool reveal to have Infinite actually be Knack or Fang.
Right.
And the story would be that the reason why you haven't seen him is he's been like a gun for hire for years, and then he was corrupted by this Emerald and became this new character. And just imagine how much more epic Forces would have been if in the end it was like, who are you? And he's like, you might have known me as Fang. And you'd be like, oh my god, it's him. Like, that would have been epic. But instead it was like, he's like, oh, I'm just a wolf character that was introduced in a comic book
you might have
a month
read
ago.
Me. Right.
You might have read it on the Sega Twitter account.
Yeah, you might have read it, yes.
So lame.
I agree. I think it would have been kind of like a Phantom of the Opera or whatever, the man behind the iron mask, where the reveal has to be important, right? It's like if Darth Vader was like, I'm no one important, and he takes off his mask, and you're like, oh.
Right. And I think the closest thing I could think, two examples would be Judge Doom in Roger Rabbit, where it turns out he's a Toon.
Right.
Or probably even more closer to it would be Wreck-It Ralph, where King Candy turned out to be Turbo, which was like an old classic racing character in the game or in the movie. So I just think it would have been really epic because like there's so many characters that we've followed over the years. We're like, well, of course, yeah, classic Sonic 2 Tails is the same Tails we see in Frontiers. But like, where did some of these other characters go? And so to have this like whole backstory where Fang actually was corrupted after the events of, Sonic Triple Trouble, and he didn't reemerge until Forces would have been kind of epic, especially when Sonic Mania ties in with Forces as, like, a big story. So, I don't know, like, they should have hired me, I think a lot of people would have been able to make a better story than whatever that game was, right? Yeah.
What's the last game he was in? I'm trying to think. Maybe the Sonic. I know he was in Generations and Mania, right? In a way.
Oh, as cameos, Mania would be the last game, but that wasn't him. That was like
an illusion, just
an illusion,
just like the
and
whole
then
right,
and then Generations, it was a wanted poster. So really, I guess maybe Sonic the Fighters.
How about the storybook games? Was he in those?
No. So 1996, I want to say.
Whoa. So yeah, he's one of those characters that I don't know. It seems like Sonic Team is not too keen on bringing them back, but I hope that if they ever make another classic game, we get it. But I think it's dumb not to. Did you hear the rumors that they were supposed to put him in his own team for Sonic Heroes?
No. Oh, I did hear that. That would have been awesome.
Right.
But yeah, he's only been around 94, 95, 96. He had appearances in games, and then it wasn't until Generations and Mania that we got cameos and like stuff like that. But it's a shame.
So,
It's a shame.
the character has a weird name history, as we talked about. Early into development, the character was actually named Knack, not the PlayStation legendary all-star character, Knack, without the K,
Right.
N-A-C-K. But since in 1993, Sonic Team introduced a little character called Knuckles, and Knuckles and Knack sound similar in Japanese. Aspect decided to do a contest in the Japanese magazine Shukan Famicom Tsushin, and in the end, Fang the Sniper won. Also, Famicom is literally the Nintendo name in Japan, so it was like a Nintendo fan magazine that got to name Fang the Sniper. I don't know if I like that.
That's odd.
Maybe they do, like, maybe it was one of those Japanese magazines that started off as Famicom, and then there was actually competition, because for a while Nintendo owned 90% of the market, so it was either that or nothing. Regardless, in America and Europe, they still kept Knack, which I think was a mistake, because we didn't know back then, obviously. I don't think we knew that we'd be talking to people in Japan and sharing the lore and then making it super complicated for people that make Wikipedias. What do you think? Is your heart in Fang or in Knack?
I kind of tipped my scale towards
Weasel.
Knack earlier. I prefer, when it comes to naming, I usually prefer the original Japanese names. In this case, I think I like Fang more.
Right.
But Knack feels more natural to me because I grew up on it.
How about Fang the Sniper? No, Fang the
about
Weasel. How about that?
How about Fang the Knack? See, that's the thing. Fang the Weasel, I think, would be a good in-between.
Right.
Because it's an animal. They decided on weasel instead of, like, a jumping rat.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they should combine the two. I think they should have kept it within an animal in. And I think if they ever do a thing where they like want to explain it further, I think the idea of him having Sniper as his like alias, because he doesn't use his real name, but technically it's Weasel, I would accept even something like that, because he's such a undercover greedy guy or thief that he doesn't want to tell people his real name. So the next, we're going to be talking about the levels for the game. We're going to be doing a tier list. Have you ever done a tier list, Barry? Do you know what that is?
Yes, I have.
When?
I do. It's what the gamers do.
When? Oh, I have to look up. Oh, okay. When have you done a tier list for what?
I think I started one for Sonic, and then there were way too many options, so I stopped.
So today we're only going to be looking at about 7 options, since there's only about 7 levels in this game. So the first level we have is Great Tortoise Zone, which is, I would say, a copy of Green Hill Zone, right? It's the forestry-looking one. Where were you placing in your list? S, A, B, C, D, E, and F tier for a level.
Great Turquoise. I would say it's a it would be. I'd say a solid A. It's a good start to the game. That whole turtle bit is really cool. And to be honest, like, as much as people complain about Green Hill, copies, I remember when Sonic 2 Master System is talked about, people are like, oh man, the first level sucks. It's not a Green Hill,
Right, that's what I don't get sometimes, but yeah.
So yeah, I'd give it a solid A.
This is my favorite idea for one. It's the Sunset Park, which is a amusement park that's been abandoned and is kind of destroyed. It has a cool yellow sunset. I thought it was pretty epic when I played it as a kid. Just the aesthetics of it and the idea. I wish they would bring this back and make it in a 3D level, like it's just a cool sunset level in a theme park that's been destroyed. But What's your opinion on this one?
This one I'd put solid S. I think it's one of the most memorable levels in the game, and there's a lot of cool, fun gimmicks. It's, if I remember correctly, the end boss is like a moving train, right?
I think so, yes.
And that's very Sonic Advance. Remember in the Advance games, I think Sonic Advance 2, where all the bosses were moving?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say Sunset Park is an S in my mind.
Let me see the other one. Meta Jungleria Zone? Sorry.
Is this like VR? It's like meta?
Right. I think
with
it is.
Meta Quest?
I think they copied this one. It's a jungle level. I think we've seen a lot of jungle levels. I think one thing I do appreciate from this game, it does take stuff from the classic games, like ideas. But they do such a good variety that it just keeps going, even though you're like, oh, this is obviously inspired by Green Hill Zone, or this one's obviously inspired by one of the weird jungle levels that were in the classic games. But I think they did a good enough job to keep them a little separate. What's your opinion on this one, besides it being related to Facebook?
I like that there was like a swamp on the bottom. It reminds me of Oil Ocean in that sense, where you have to like try not to sink. You know, it's not a death pit. It's like it gives you a little chance. Right. Apparently, the name is based on Shangri-La.
Right, I was going to say
from
that.
the 1933 Lost Horizon novel. So Meta Jungri-La. It's such a weird
Jungri-La.
It's a very weird title, Jungri-La.
All right. What do you place this baby?
I mean, here we are. People complain about like, oh, it's Hydrocity. No, it's Hydro City. But what the hell is Meta Jungri-La? Like,
yeah, this one's never coming back as a title.
No, but I'd still say it's pretty solid. What would you rank it?
I don't know. You want to give it a B or an A?
I give it a B.
All right, B sounds pretty good. So far we're down the line. So the next one's going to be a C, I'm assuming. So the next one is Robotnik's Winter Zone, and this is weird because has there been before this a Robotnik themed name? Like, well, okay, first of all, they don't call him Robotnik, right? So I'm assuming this was called Eggman Winter Zone in Japan.
It was not. I was looking this up before we recorded because I was like, oh, this is interesting. So in Japan, this was called Robotnik Winter.
Really? They just
Zone.
Called it that?
Yeah. And
who's
and
Robotnik?
I'll get to it when we talk about the comic book. So remind me. But there's another interesting little tidbit here. But this one, I mean, I'll just say it S because this is the snowboarding one. It's on the cover. Right. It's memorable.
It's literally good enough to be on the cover.
Yeah, it's basically more Ice Cap Zone, and everyone loves Ice Cap Zone. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Title Plan Zones, or like the streaming service, right? Tidal,
yeah,
Tidal Zone.
It's like Title Tempest. I'm not a big fan of underwater game or stages.
No, this kind of has like what's that level that never came out on the 2? Labyrinth Zone look kind of to it, I guess. The little blocky.
Right, but I will say the Sea Fox is in this level, which is a really fun like nod to Tails Adventures, which released a year later.
Right.
So there's a fun little bit of continuity here and like the aspect. You know, everyone's like, oh, the Snyderverse. This is the aspect verse of Sonic.
You know what? They really need to make an aspect verse like comic crossover where they just do that era. Yeah. Right. That'd be great. But anyway.
But I think that kind of saves it from being, you know, worse than it is. So I would give it a solid B.
B. Because it ties into the aspect verse, all right.
I like that it leads into Tails' Adventures. Like there's a little continuity there with the craft. And he even, you know, he's in it on the cover of the comic. I think that's really sweet. And actually the Sea Fox became Tails' go-to craft for a lot of Archie Sonic stories. There was quite a few of them, so I thought that was cool.
Atomic Destroyer Zone. It sounds like a death metal band, to be honest. Atomic Destroyer.
It's all right.
Right.
You know?
So just give it a C. That sounds all right? C?
I mean, it sounds like we're being down on it, but I guess the thing is with these final zones, like they're always so difficult and hard that they're there to give you a challenge at the end of the game, but not there for you to like
enjoy.
Oh, I can't wait to jump. Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, I need to do that level select zone. Level select so I can jump back in. Like for me in Sonic 1, I would always replay Starlight Zone. I would never replay the final zone.
Right.
You know, I'd never be like, oh, I want to be angry.
Unless you embarrass yourself in school and you're like, I need to punish myself. I got to play that level. Gone.
I will say Metal Sonic's a sub-boss, which does feed into your quadruple trouble.
Right. I was going to say that. I did put in the notes to mention that Metal Sonic makes a appearance, which... Cameo, right. And that's kind of, what do you say, it's rare at this moment, or would this be a mainstream appearance from him?
It's rare because he's, I think, only in, like Fang, it's like Drift and the Fighters. He was really not present from Sonic CD onwards. So it's kind of epic that he's just like a sub-boss.
The rock one right here that I have, is this the bonus level, number 7?
That's
right,
it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the bonus
So
stage.
how would you rank this? You don't have to rank it in terms of other levels here, but as a bonus stage in this
how
era.
do these work?
Right.
I did not like that the special stage was tied to a Chaos Emerald monitor. I thought that was... I know. I feel like they could have done it a better way to have
got
like...
you.
No. I think accessing them was kind of lame. But how do these work? So the first, third, and fifth... I actually don't remember how these play.
E, F, D.
How do these work? And then there's 3D stages, right? It's... Oh, I see. They're different. All right, so one's 2D.
And one's...
They alternate. Right. So, and one's 3D. I'd say the 3D ones I would give an A just because it's fun and different and utilizes the tornado. The 2D ones I'd give maybe a C just because nothing too exciting there. I never really liked the special stages in the Sonic and Tails games.
I think it's funny because I think a lot of people, like, while they have nostalgia feelings being blown away by the bonus stages, a lot of people don't like the bonus stages in some Sonic games. Like, the first one had that weird one that Sonic 1 on the Mega Drive that goes like this, right? And it makes you... And then they have the other ones that are like fake 3D, but then you have to jump on stuff on 3.
Right. I mean, I've said it before. I think the best Sonic special stages like utilize skills you learn in the main game,
right,
and like focus on them. So like, I thought it was always cool when they were like, oh, instead of running sideways, I'm running forward in like a tunnel. Like, that's cool. I never liked when they take away control from you, like with Sonic 1, or when you're just falling down a pit, like in... I can't remember which one does falling down a pit. Isn't it 3D Blast on the Saturn? No, that's on a bridge.
Right.
I can't recall. But yeah, so there's good ones, there's bad ones. And this one, I guess, is just lazy because it's just straight up like another 2D stage, but it's called the special stage.
Right.
It just is kind of odd to me. So if they were all the tornado, I think that would have been like A. Because that's cool. It's like forward, It utilizes the tornado, and we've never seen the tornado in a forward-moving direction, which is kind of surprising, given Super Scalar. Like, why have they never done a Super Scalar special stage with the tornado? That would have been epic.
I agree. Why haven't they?
Imagine that. Like, you're playing Sonic 3, and then, like, the special stage kicks off, and it's Afterburner in the tornado. Why not? Get Yuji Naka on the phone. He's fired. Once he gets out of jail.
What do you mean? Where?
He's in jail.
Is he in jail? Oh yeah, he is in jail.
No, he's not in jail. I don't think he's in jail.
You don't think
I think
so?
He was arrested and let out.
I saw him.
Yeah,
I saw him in jail.
I don't think he's still sitting in jail.
I saw him in jail though. I literally. No, I haven't. But do you think he actually went to prison for what he did?
I don't think he went to prison. There's a difference between being arrested and like sitting in the local jail and like being booked and going to prison. He probably was in like a white collar like holding area where he like sat on a bench. Like, I doubt they put him in bars.
You think so?
In a jumpsuit. I don't think so. No.
Why not?
I think what they should do is they should have Yuji Naka travel the country and sign autographs and answer stupid questions from fans for 5 years.
Why?
For free. Wouldn't that be a great punishment? He's like, you have to go to conventions and sign free autographs and answer questions from Barry and George.
I actually would love that. Can we have that happen?
I think we can. Let's talk to the president of Japan.
Who's the president of Japan to make this happen? That should be a good punishment. Can you imagine having to talk to your own fans? How horrible that would be.
Nights into Dreams. Is it an actual dream, or is it a real world?
Anyway.
All right. So let's talk about the music for Sonic Triple Trouble. Usually, I'm gonna lay it out there for everyone. I'm not a big fan of 8-bit Sega music. Usually, it hurts my ears. I think it's mostly because it was made for smaller speakers, the Game Gear. So usually, not a lot of thought was into it. And I think me and you got spoiled by mostly playing most of our 2D gaming on a Mega Drive with that beautiful, beautiful, crisp sound. The stereo sound, 2 speakers, baby. It sounds so good, but yes.
Yeah.
But Triple Trouble is actually received pretty positively by fans. A lot of people said that it had better music than Chaos, and that was mostly because of how do you say her name? Wachi?
Yayoi
Wachi? Yayoi Wachi.
Yeah.
A female composer for Sega Japan. She would go on to compose iconic soundtracks for Panzer Dragoon Zwei and Magic Knight Ray Earth. And personally, like I said, I'm on the fence. What do you think about my hatred for 8-bit music? I think this soundtrack's good, but I do think it still runs for the same issue where it has this like tingingly, I don't know, like it kind of hurts your ears.
You know what it is? You're a soundtrack guy. You like the vinyls,
right.
You like the CDs, you like the Spotify playlists. And so I can see you being like, I don't want to throw on 8-bit Master System soundtracks, and I wouldn't blame you. They're not. They suit. The thing is they suit the game when you're playing it.
I agree.
And the best that a Game Gear and a Master System can do is the music that you're going to get. I don't think they transcend the hardware and deserve to be pressed on a CD. And in that sense, I get it. But there has been some really great Game Gear and Master System soundtracks. A lot of it's really tinny and hard to listen to, but man, Sonic Drift 2, I think, has some amazing tracks. I love Rainy Savannah. Like, it makes me emotional when I listen to it. That's such a good sound. You've heard Rainy Savannah, right?
Right, yes.
Oh, it's so good. And I think Triple Trouble's up there. I think it is some pretty great music. I just think it's one of those ones, though, where I prefer the remixes, to the actual music. But yeah, there's a reason why we don't see Data Discs doing many vinyl releases. I think the only one I can think of is it wasn't Data Discs, but didn't the original Phantasy Star get a vinyl?
Yes, it did actually. Through
and that's one of the few
Master System games, right? And they're doing all the Phantasy Star games. I think 4. What are they called?
I wish I got on it, but one of them sold out, right? Like, hopefully they do a repressing of all 4.
Let me see which one I got. I got 2. Well, you can't see it because of my filter thing, but it's by.
You have to hold your hand in.
Right. Do you do this when you're on those team calls or whatever?
What's up, guys?
Phone to shore, I think that's what they're called, or ship to shore. They're doing it. It's actually interesting that she did Triple Trouble, and then she also did Panzer Dragoon Zwei, which is considered one of the most epic soundtracks of all time, and is totally like top tier in terms of composition compared to a Game Gear game, right? Like, she went from that to, I'm just gonna make Saturn games that are gonna be considered some of the best music of all time. So,
right.
So she has a big career. So, yes, definitely a good soundtrack if you like 8-bit music, like I said. So let's talk about adverts. In America, we got one print ad. That's it. But the print ad, I think, is pretty good. It kind of captures the cover, which I mean, it has the cover and it has the snow, and like you said, the snow level is literally the most popular level and what it was used for marketing. What do you think about this ad? It's pretty typical Sega of America 90s ad.
Yeah, not too much to say about it. It's not even like really edgy or anything. It's just someone outside playing the game. I think it's odd that the screenshots are below and yet in the screen is the cover art.
Right, it's weird.
That doesn't make sense.
Whoever designed it, right?
I also think the screenshots are really shitty. They're like a yellow tint. I'm just kind of surprised they couldn't get better screens. It looks very yellow. It's just odd. I think they should have played up the 3 enemies thing more, like Triple Trouble, like knock heads with Knuckles, and then it should have been like take on new enemy, Knack the Weasel, and then maybe the third one it's like an old Eggman's back with Metal Sonic,
Right.
But it is cool to see the Sea Fox down there, to see the snowboard. They're really kind of pushing it to be like Sonic 3 and Knuckles down below, where they go, Knuckles is back. So
not
Strike Dash.
So just whatever then.
It's fine,
it's
but
fine.
It's not. The thing is, it's not edgy. Like there's no headline. Like look at the top. There's no title. It's just the logo and someone outside playing.
So you think it should have been something like Knack the Weasel will shoot you in the head or something like that? Nothing like that?
It should have taken... If you look down at the very bottom, it says triple the action, triple the thrills. It should have said that at the top.
Right.
Like triple the action, triple the thrills, triple the enemies. Like triple the villains. And then in the screen there, it should have been Sonic snowboarding in the game. And then down below, it should have been 3 screenshots showing off the enemies. And then in the very bottom, where the cover art is, just blow it up a little bit to take up a little more space.
So I would have done it. So here's my idea for an ad if I had a picture for Sega. Play up the idea that you're going to be taking a side of this game. So it would be like the kid with the Game Gear is playing Sonic, and the people that want the Game Gear to play it are the villains. So somebody would be dressed like Eggman, one of them Knack, and one of them Knuckles. And it's like the Triple Trouble everyone wants to play or something like that. And then it would be like the screenshots on the bottom. But yeah, at least it would play up the idea that there's multiple villains after.
If I could have done it from scratch, I'd do one of those really raunchy, like Sega ads, where it just shows like 3 like sexy women who are triplets,
Right.
and it has nothing to do with the game, and it's
That would
like,
sell.
how about a threesome? And then they'll say Sonic Triple Trouble.
That would actually sell.
It would.
Next, we got a Game Gear commercial in Japan. They always made these really cool animated ones, which I thought it was kind of dumb that we never got them in America. At least some of the animation reused. But let's press play. 1, 2, 3. Right away, right? So
Can you replay that again?
what part?
The beginning.
The GG collection. That part?
Yeah,
Okay.
isn't that? Yeah, play it again.
What about it? You like that?
That isn't that Takenobu Mitsuyoshi?
Most probably. You think so?
That's him going GG collection.
Well, he's a
Yeah.
celebrity. I mean, this is how people knew how to buy a Game Gear. He sold it.
I love
it
the
is
different
him.
colored Game Gears because it's the same colors they use for the Game Gear Minis.
Right. I love it too.
It's a messed up ad though.
It is.
It's pretty wild.
It's also very low quality. If someone that works at Sega, maybe in a department called Sega Forever, could get access to these tapes and upload better versions of these cool retro ads, so they aren't like 1 pixel in size. That'd be amazing. Maybe a little bit. What do you think about that?
I'm all for it. I don't know if Sega Forever listens to this, but if they hear us, make it happen.
Please, thank
Captain.
you. Now I lost my spot because I don't know where I'm at. But I see my notes now. We also have a little thing called a comic book tie-in. This is where you come in, Barry. So in
Yes, sir.
Archie, Sonic the Hedgehog had an adaptation of the game in its third issue of the Sonic Specials, which was published back in October 1995. The issue was
That's
written
right.
by both Mike Gallagher and fan favorite Ken Penders.
Gallagher.
Gallagher, right? Like
Yep.
like the Gallagher, the artist that does the watermelon smashing.
Yeah. So these specials, they were all number ones, and they never really made it clear as to like what order they go in. You really had to like kind of look at the date that they released. It wasn't until later that Sonic Super Special became its own series that ran for I think 13 issues. Little fun fact: in the final Super Special, I had a letter printed, and it's the infamous Super Special with some of the worst art and worst stories, including a story that was never reprinted. That was so bad. So that's kind of my claim to fame. But this issue, I remember when it came out, was a big deal because they did not do a lot of adaptations. I think at the time, Sonic and Knuckles was the only one to have its own standalone issue. Since then, they did, I think, 3D Blast, Chaotix, Sonic Adventure got one. But it was rare, and it was especially rare to have a Game Gear game get its own one-shot special. I read it. I mean, I read it a ton back in the day. I actually have 2 copies. This is another one I bought recently. And it's actually a pretty faithful adaptation. Basically, the story is that Robotnik was doing research on a single Chaos Emerald, and he used the wrong equipment, and it blew up and split the emerald in half. And so one piece of the emerald landed near Sonic, and the other piece landed on the floating island. And Robotnik basically hired Knack the Weasel to go and acquire both of them for him. And so what happened was the one that landed near Sonic created a new zone. So in the Sonic comics, zones aren't like different areas in the world all the time. Sometimes they're portals to like new areas that were like created.
Like the movie.
Kind of, yeah.
Right.
And so the one half landed near Sonic and created like a special entryway that says like "Welcome to Triple Trouble." And when Sonic entered it, he basically played through the events of the game. And then the other half landed on the floating island, and it was drawn to the Master Emerald. So it landed in a mountain and then started being drawn to the Emerald, actually like drilling itself through the mountain. And if it touched the Master Emerald, the entire floating island would explode. And so Sonic raced back to the floating island with the half... No. Sonic was knocked unconscious by Fang after he completed all the stages in Triple Trouble. And Fang took him to go get the second half of the emerald, but when Fang arrived, Knuckles knocked Fang out, and then he found Sonic in the trunk of Fang's hover speeder. He thought Sonic was involved, so they fought until they realized that they needed to get the other half of the emerald to the one that was like burrowing itself underground. And so after that, they fixed everything. Fang got arrested.
What?
Knack got arrested.
For what? There's
What?
cops? Wait.
Well, no, there's no cops, but Sonic
can't hear
took
you.
him back. So Sonic
Oh, okay.
arrested Knack.
Got you. He's a cop now? Burning Rangers? Tie-in?
Well, no, he's like, I'm going to take him back and we'll take care of him.
right.
And so that was kind of that. But I mean, it's all there. Like, the only thing is Tails doesn't have the Sea Fox in the story. Instead,
Lame.
there's like a backup story where Tails has the Sea Fox and goes on his own adventure. But what's interesting is that it ties in with plot points from Sonic number 1, which had a story, like an underwater sort of story. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a pretty solid issue. Gallagher wrote the stories, and then the third story Penders wrote has no connection to Triple Trouble. It's more of like a Knuckles story that ties into the ongoing Knuckles plot. of the mysteries of the floating island.
He was so obsessed with Knuckles, wasn't he? Like, that was his favorite character.
He was, but, like, I gotta say, like, I see a lot on Twitter, people going, oh, Penders. Like,
Trash.
when they hear Archie Sonic, they immediately think all of Archie Sonic is Ken Penders and all of it's garbage. When really it isn't. Like, at this time, it was pretty epic to be like, oh, I'm reading the Sonic comics, but I gotta pick up the Triple Trouble adaptation, and it has a Knuckles story that continues this story that's going on in the comics, and like there's a lot of cool continuity. Like there's these ancient these ancient characters who appeared in the main comics who reappear here and meet Knuckles for the first time. So there's just, I don't know, like there's a lot of fun continuity in here. It still adapts the game pretty well. But a fun little bit of trivia is that when Sonic is running through all of the zones, they show a image of him, and I posted this up on our Twitter, of him defeating the Eggman boss, and he calls him Eggman, and like the Robotnik like silhouette is there, but what's implied is that in the game it's not Eggman you're defeating, it's a robotic version of him. Does that make sense?
Does it? Not really.
Well, no. In the comic, Robotnik is at his headquarters. He's not battling Sonic, and so how does Sonic battle another Robotnik? Well, he's not. He's fighting a robotic Robotnik named Eggman. It's implied,
right?
But what's really interesting is that when after issue 50, Robotnik was dead, and then through some plot contrivance, he's reborn in a robot body that looks like the Sonic Adventure body, but he's called Eggman. And so really, this is the first appearance of a robotic-bodied Eggman. And so, you know, if you want to really talk Archie canon, it could be said that that's like the first appearance of that character. I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun.
It's horrible. It's too much explaining. Why?
No, it's cool.
You love. Okay, guys. I'm sorry. I'm with you guys. I don't like Ken Penders. I'm an anti-Ken Penders, anti-Archie. I'm with you guys. I hate all this blasphemous stuff Barry talks, but I have to be nice. I can't just shut him down and tell him stop.
You're lying.
I don't.
You're
okay,
lying.
I don't hate everything. All right. So
I think, all right, I don't want to get into it, but what I will say is I think...
Into it. Sorry, go on.
Well, you're going to make me get into it. What I really appreciate about the Archie Sonic comics is they could have, like, these are kids' comics. They could have just said, oh, Eggman's back. He wasn't dead. He's back, and now he just has a new body. But they actually, like, go through 70-plus issues, and they find a way to make him come back through all of these past plot points. And I don't know, like even though it's a little convoluted, they put thought into it rather than just being like, oh, Wizard did it, he's back.
Right.
They were like, well, Robotnik's dead, but in an alternate reality, there is a Robo-Robotnik who is also a villain, and he put his body into a backup robot body that looks like the Sonic Adventure design, but he then was de-roboticized, and now he is essentially Robotnik reborn as Eggman.
Right.
Like, that's silly on paper, but if you were to read through all the comics, it's kind of epic. Like, the lead up to, like, his return. I don't know.
Do you think that a lot of new comic book or a lot of new Sonic fans read synopsis of these storylines and go, oh my god, this is terrible, without actually capturing the feeling?
So two things. I think they read synopsises, and I think they look at cherry-picked screenshots from really shitty moments in Archie history, like Sonic Live, which was a one-shot where Sonic was like a video game character come to life. Like, it was stupid as hell, but it was not in any way indicative of the larger story going on. Like, to be honest, like the Knuckles miniseries was some of the best written and best drawn, like, Sonic comic content for quite some time. Like, if you go back and look at and I actually own some original art, it's really well done. It's just, down the line, obviously turned into like way too much Knuckles family history.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, to me, we're now in a time when IDW is basically an extension of the games. And so it's kind of fun to go back and look at these early days. And I don't know why people need to be so cynical about it. Like, it's over. It's not happening anymore. So let's enjoy the past, you know?
So let's talk a little bit about some fan ports. Sonic Triple Trouble is one of the games that basically has gotten a lot of fan love over the years. One of the things that you would notice here is that first we got a Triple Trouble on Master System port back in 2009. This unofficial port was developed by Fan Glitch. So you guys could check that out if you guys really want to play the original Game Gear game on your Master System or Master System emulator. That's definitely worth checking out.
EverDrive does it, right?
Right, EverDrive
on a
original hardware
without a 32X attached.
Right.
Yeah.
It just kind of sucks though because you can't do the save state. I don't think it works on it. If you are into save stating, can't save state on Master System. I don't think.
Right.
So besides that, it's an unofficial port. You could download it on Sonic Retro. Just Google the Sonic Triple Trouble SMS. Then a bigger, more talked about project, Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit, was developed by Noah Copeland, and we actually interviewed him last year on our website. Aki did, not us. But do you remember Sage and the promotion leading up to Sonic Triple Trouble? Because Noah...
I definitely do, yeah.
Noah did a really good job, in my opinion, on promoting his fan project. He got a lot of cool retro art to come out. He had some really cool ideas, like he made these like vintage magazine style like adverts for it, like it was an actual game release. I thought he did a really good job. He hyped it up really well. He basically he made the game on Game Maker Engine over the span of 5 years. The game features ultra level design, 16-bit aesthetics, and really cool mechanic that allows you to switch between Sonic and Tails. But what is your opinion on these fan projects that they put so much love where it almost feels like, is this a full release? Right?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those rare instances where I really wish Sega would step in and give this like I'm serious, like give it a Sega published release. And they don't need to do anything more than just put it on Steam and give it the seal of approval. And I think they honestly should do this. Like, imagine if Sega did what a lot of companies are doing right now, boutique labels where they are giving Genesis and Sega CD and 3DO games like new pressings.
Right.
I know this game can't technically run on a Genesis, to my knowledge. So in that sense, it doesn't really work that way. But I think it would be pretty epic if they did give it like an official
Xbox
license. Like let's say, okay, so Sonic, let's say Sega's like they contact Noah and they're like, hey,
what's up, Noah?
What's up? They'd be like, we're not suing you. We want to publish this. We have a few notes from Sonic Team, but we want to bring this over to Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. It's going to be under a new label called, like, I don't know, like Sonic Classics Reborn or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they'd be like, this is the first game, and we want to look at you and other developers, like including the Taxman and Stealth team, to bring Game Gear titles and games that we haven't seen in years to the Genesis like aesthetic. I think that would be sweet, you know. But instead, I don't think Sega has anything planned outside of compilations and ports and new stuff. So
I actually agree. I think it would be cool. I think there's a lot of these fan projects that I really liked. Some of them were like, there's this Metal Sonic game that actually runs on it that I really like. The idea of the way he uses the management system and the rings. There's that 3 Complete So there's some games where I'm like, man, like I guess we have gotten 3 complete technically, right? Recently, so but there's been a lot where I'm like, come on, Sonny, you're really dropping the ball here. So I just wanted to watch the fan trailer. Have you seen this before?
I have, yeah.
So we could watch it, and then it's only a minute. I'm gonna start playing it now. Look how this looks.
There's that music you love.
I love it. It's a little more tolerable here. A lot better, obviously. I mean, I love that it just looks like it fits right into the Genesis games. Like, new gimmicks are cool. It reminds me a lot of Sonic Mania, really. Like, it could just be released.
Right. And I think, what would be sweet is like a Sonic Mania style compilation of all the Game Gear games brought into Genesis aesthetics.
Right. Though 5 years working on it, what do you think about that? That's a long time of your life to give up for a project like this. It must have felt so good when he finally released it, did the trailers, did all the promotion, being slocked. And you know what? I give him credit. I think he waited until the end to actually promote it a lot. I'm sure he talked about it, obviously. Like, everyone talks about their projects.
Right.
But they weren't making a Kickstarter. They weren't asking people for money. They delivered a product that I think a lot of these people that do Kickstarters don't even deliver half of what they did. And he didn't ask for a penny, so I give him, Noah, a lot of props. Triple Trouble's a great game. His fan game is worth playing. But there's other ways to play the game. So let's talk about some of the ports that have been released over time. The game was in Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut for GameCube. It was also in the Sonic Gems collection on the GameCube and PS2. To Colecchio Sonic? What? I don't know what this is something that they put... Coleco, yeah. But like, was it really on there, though? This was on Sonic Retro. I just put it on there. Let me look at it. It's like, look at the handheld...
Yeah, Coleco was a computer, so I guess they used the Coleco branding.
Well, then there's there's another one here. I'm not counting those. Sonic PC Collection for PC, and there's another one here, a Fun Play 20-in-1. That's cool, but no. Virtual Console for the 3DS would be the last one in 2013.
I have that one.
And have you noticed that SNK has been re-releasing their Neo Geo Pocket games on the Switch? And they've been doing...
I bought both collections. I'm waiting for them to ship still.
I have the first one already because I pre-ordered it when it first was announced. And I also bought the second one. And I wish that Sega would just do that with Game Gear stuff. There's a lot of really cool Game Gear games.
Hell yeah.
Doing a cool little collection on a disc, like on limited run games, even if it's just limited, would be amazing.
You know what my wish is? I know everyone wants a Dreamcast Mini.
Right.
I want a Master System Mini.
Whoa.
I think it is 100% doable. I think M2 has the experience and the skills to really make it awesome. I think the way they could market it is to have more units sold in South America. I think they could make serious buck off of the South American market. And I think, like with the Mega Drive Mini 2 with Sega CD, they could push that it also includes Game Gear games.
Yes.
And I think they could really lean on the Sonic library. So unlike Mega Drive Mini 2 and even Mega Drive Mini 1, where Sonic was just kind of like there, but not a major focus, I think with this one, if they did a Master System Mini, they could got Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic Chaos, Sonic Triple Trouble in a new Master System port from M2. We've got Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2 from the Game Gear. Like, it's all here, and really put Sonic on the box art. Like, fuck it, Like, you've got the character, you've got South America who just... I think they're still making games for the Master System in South America.
They re-released the... they were doing those re-releases, right? Like the Tectoy, all the 100 games in one type of things.
Yeah, like, that's degrading that's ruining the brand.
I agree.
Bring out, like, a pristine... And it doesn't need to be, like, $100. It could be, like, 70, because you're not working with Sega CD titles. It's actually a downgrade, technically, but you could put 100 games in it because there's so many Game Gear and Master System titles. So that's me.
I thought your dream would have been a Sega Nomad, like a handheld with all the Genesis games.
That would have been sweet too. I think if they did the lineup of Mega Drive Mini 1 and 2 on a Sega Nomad, that'd be pretty sick, brah. But it couldn't be mini.
Right.
It has to be
it's full size. Well, not full size, but
I know it's not on the notes, but I have a few merch here. Can I show it off real quick?
100% you can.
So these were awesome. I actually have a pink one too. They are Sonic the Hedgehog Game Gear bubblegum. And inside of these, they had collector cards, and I have a ton of them here. So the first series focused on, I believe, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So I got the cards here, Sonic Chaos. But of course, our focus, there are Triple Trouble tip cards here. And I will read just one of the tips. So it says, hold down the D-pad when Sonic is standing. Press and hold the 1 button, and then release. That's the spin dash. That's your tip.
Nice.
How to do a spin dash. I also have, from Cookie Crisp cereal, they had Sonic the Hedgehog milk caps, or Pogs, and there was a Knack the Weasel and Sonic the Hedgehog sharing a sheet there. And these would come in a plastic package. I think you maybe get 2 or 4. I actually have the whole set, but this is the Sonic and Knack one. And then, of course, the comic book. So it's not too much Triple Trouble merch, but as you can see, Fang got a little
love.
A little something. He got a little cookie. A little Cookie Crisp.
Anything you want to say to the fine folks listening about Triple Trouble before we close it up?
It's kind of, I wouldn't call it the magnum opus of Game Gear games, but I think it was a fitting kind of conclusion to the Sonic and Tails games. I think it's unfortunate that G-Sonic, I think, released later, and it was just such a dud.
Right.
I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Right.
But it's such a shitty game. But I do believe we did do Sonic Chaos back in 2020,
right.
So we actually did cover
the first one.
Both Sonic and Tails games.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
We did. I remember talking about the other one. I will say, just to close it up, it's worth playing, but I think it got overshadowed by the very popular Mega Drive games at the time, especially coming right off of Sonic and Knuckles. And then having... Yeah. So, I could see why a lot of people forgot it, but I think the iconic Fang design really makes the game continue on. I think it really makes...
Oh, for sure.
Definitely worth checking out, especially for Fang fans. You could read some of our Patreon memories for this game.
Absolutely. So we have quite a few here. We have Ando dropping his thoughts. Said the perfect Game Gear Sonic was amazing. What they managed to get out of the old handheld, considering the big sprites, the colors, and the 3D special stages. After Sonic 2 being too hard and Sonic Chaos being too easy, this also had the perfect level of difficulty. Triple Trouble was a mainstay in my Game Gear carrying case and kept me entertained during many car rides and boring visits to relatives. The fact that it had Knuckles instantly made it cool by default, and Fang the Sniper Weasel gave the franchise a new unique character that is now finally seeing some recognition. Shout out to Noah Copeland's incredible 16-bit remake of the game.
Yep.
Then we have Daniel Andres saying, "Oh man, unfortunately, I don't have much experience with this one, but it's definitely one of the best games on the Game Gear. I have started on the 16-bit remake, and I really need to continue it sometime soon. I've also always loved the Sunset Park train segment song. What a great game, and glad to hear it included in the Symphony." Oh, it was in the Sonic Symphony, wasn't it? I think it was. Or maybe he's talking about the Symphony of Sega Talk. Next, we have Ben Hayward saying, "Oh my god! Finally, Triple Trouble makes the Sega Talk list. Sorry, I was just thinking about a game like this, one of my chances to be excited as Daniel Andres." Hi, Daniel. I've been looking forward to hearing this episode since you covered Sonic Chaos and mentioned that Triple Trouble might be featured further down the track. I had a Master System as a kid and was knee-deep in the 8-bit versions of Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, and Spinball. But it was only more recently, as an adult, that I've been able to get a Game Gear and catch up on the 8-bit Sonic titles exclusive to that system, including Triple Trouble. Triple Trouble was actually one of the very first games I got for the Game Gear after discovering it was a system exclusive via some Wikipedia research at the time. Wish I knew about Sega bits back then. I've really enjoyed the game and have kept playing it on and off since. I've only ever had the bad ending, but one of these days I'm going to get good enough at the special stage to finish with all the emeralds. Lastly, we have Sonicu saying, "Dang, Barry and George, sure looking handsome today." Oh, it's like he's looking at us right now. That's meta. I remember being really stoked for this game as a kid. I loved the cover art, always used to draw it, and it made me pretend surf all over the place on a skateboard or standing or whatever. And I always thought Knuckles looked a little off on that cover art, despite being dumb enough as a kid that I would pretend to... Wait, he said it again? Oh, he's repeating himself. He would surf all over the place or whatever. Peak Robotic Nick in the background, though. Anyway, I got this game when it came out a day after my birthday, enjoyed it. The music for the boss of Sunset Park still gets stuck in my head regularly, almost 30 years later. That's the second mention of that in our memories here. Really remember enjoying the Archie comic adaptation, too. Also, Fang the Sniper should have been in Forces, see?
Right.
Remaster Forces and Triple Trouble in a double pack at Fix-It Sega, you cowards. I know you're listening to this. Good game. Wow, what a lot of memories.
And what are we covering next time?
Next time, we are going to be going back to the World of Illusion. We're going to be talking about the World of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, because it's coming out the episode's coming out around Valentine's Day, and if I remember correctly, in Japan, that game is called I Love Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. So that was my excuse.
Your excuse, right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So next time, we'll be talking about Mickey and a duck and love. Kissing. So see you guys next time on Sega Talk. Bye.
Bye.